Amelia Foster sat at her old piano, her fingers dancing across the worn keys. The small living room of her family's farmhouse was filled with beautiful music. Though she had been blind since birth, Amelia saw the world through sound. She was 19 years old with long brown hair that she kept in a simple braid and deep blue eyes that could not see but somehow seemed to understand everything around her. From the kitchen, her mother Laura called out, "That sounds wonderful, honey." Amelia smiled but didn't stop playing. She was working on something new, a piece she had heard only once on the radio yesterday. Her mind had captured every note perfectly, and now her fingers recreated it without a single mistake. This was her gift. Amelia could hear a piece of music just once and play it back perfectly, but she could do more than just copy. She could feel the mathematical patterns in music, the hidden structures that most people never noticed. When she played, she didn't just reproduce notes. She understood the language behind them. "You should record that," said her father, Ben, as he walked into the living room. He was a kind man with calloused hands from years of farming. People would pay good money to hear. "You play like that?" Amelia shook her head. "I just play for fun, Dad." Her parents worried about her future. In their small town of Oak Ridge, opportunities were limited for anyone, let alone a blind girl. But Amelia never seemed bothered by this. She was content with her piano and her books in Braille. That evening, as the family ate dinner, the news played on their old television. Scientists at NASA have detected unusual signals from a planet orbiting a star 50 light-years away, the reporter announced. Experts say these signals show patterns unlike anything seen before. "Probably just space noising," Ben said, passing the mashed potatoes to Amelia. But Amelia tilted her head, listening intently to the sample of the signal that the news program played. It was just a short, strange sequence of tones, but something about it caught her attention. "It sounds like music," she whispered. Her parents exchanged worried glances, thinking she was confusing the signal with the background music of the news program. 200 miles away, Dr. Elaine Winters stared at her computer screen in her office at the University of Chicago. The astrobiologist had been studying the strange signals for weeks. Her colleagues thought she was wasting her time, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something important in these patterns. Elaine had an unusual background for an astrobiologist. Before her science career, she had studied music theory. This gave her a unique perspective on the alien signals. "There's structure here," she muttered to herself, tapping her pencil against her desk. "It's almost like a complex musical composition." She reached for her phone and called her old friend, General Alan Reeves at the Department of Defense. "Alan, I need government backing on this. These signals, they're not random. They follow mathematical patterns similar to certain types of music. I think someone who understands music at a deep level might help us decode them." After a long pause, the general replied, "What are you suggesting, Elaine?" "A search. Find me people with exceptional musical abilities. Not just professional musicians, but people with unusual gifts. Perfect pitch, musical memory, synesthesia, anything out of the ordinary." The general agreed, and over the next few weeks, a quiet search began across the country. Music teachers, hospitals, and research institutions were contacted. Lists were made of people with remarkable musical abilities. One name came from a small-town music teacher in Oak Ridge, who mentioned a blind girl who could play any piece after hearing it just once. "She's never had formal training," the teacher wrote, "but she plays better than people who've studied for decades." When Dr. Winters received Amelia's name, something told her this might be important. She added Amelia to the short list of candidates who would be invited to a special audition at Carnegie Hall in New York City. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday. Ben read it to Amelia twice, not quite believing it. "They want you to come to Carnegie Hall? For some government project?" Amelia's hands trembled slightly. "Carnegie Hall? Where the famous musicians play? It says they'll pay for everything, travel, hotel, meals. They want you there next week. Something about a special audition, related to music pattern recognition." "I can't go to New York by myself," Amelia said quietly. "Your Uncle Jack lives just outside the city. I'm sure he'd help," Laura suggested. I'll call him tonight." Uncle Jack was happy to help. He had always been fond of his niece and her remarkable talent. "Of course I'll pick her up at the airport and get her to the audition," he told Laura over the phone. "It's about time someone recognized how special she is." As the day of her flight approached, Amelia practiced more than ever. She had never been on a plane before or traveled so far from home. The idea terrified and excited her all at once. "What if they don't like how I play?" she asked her mother as Laura helped her pack. "They will," Laura assured her. "Just play like you always do." The night before her departure, Amelia sat at her piano one last time. As her fingers touched the keys, she thought about the strange signals from space. Something about them had stuck in her mind since hearing that brief sample on the news. Without quite knowing why, she began to play a melody that seemed to echo those mysterious tones. It was unlike anything she had ever played before. Haunting and complex, with patterns that seemed to fold in on themselves again and again. Ben listened from the doorway, a strange chill running down his spine. "What is that?" he asked when she finished. Amelia shrugged. "Just something I made up." But it wasn't just something she made up. It was as if she had somehow understood something in those alien signals that no one else could hear. A hidden language waiting to be discovered. The next morning, with her small suitcase packed and her white cane in hand, Amelia hugged her parents goodbye. "We're so proud of you," Ben said, his voice thick with emotion. "Call us as soon as you land," Laura added, fixing Amelia's collar one last time. As the taxi drove away, taking Amelia to the airport and toward a future none of them could have imagined, the old piano sat silent in the living room, waiting for her return. Uncle Jack was waiting at the airport when Amelia's flight landed in New York. He was a tall man with a kind voice that Amelia could pick out even in the noisy airport. "There's my favorite musician," he said, giving her a warm hug. "How was your flight?" "Scary at first," Amelia admitted, gripping her white cane. "But then amazing. I could feel when we went up through the clouds." Jack chuckled and took her suitcase. "Well, wait until you experience New York City. It's like nothing back home." He was right. As they rode in Jack's car toward the city, Amelia kept her window down, letting the sounds and smells wash over her. There were so many cars honking, people talking in different languages, street musicians playing on corners, and food vendors calling out to people passing by. "It's so loud," she said, but she was smiling. To her, each sound was a new color in a painting she was building in her mind. They stayed at Jack's apartment that night. It was small but cozy, and he had cleared space in his spare room for her. "The audition is tomorrow at 2 p.m., he told her over dinner. "Carnegie Hall is an amazing place. All the greatest musicians in the world have played there." Amelia barely slept that night. Excitement and nervousness kept her mind racing. What if she wasn't good enough? What if she embarrassed herself in front of important people? Morning came quickly. Jack made pancakes for breakfast, and then they took the subway to Manhattan. Amelia held tightly to his arm as they navigated the busy streets. She could feel the city's energy through the soles of her shoes. "Here we are," Jack said finally. "Carnegie Hall." Even from outside, Amelia could tell it was a special place. The acoustics were different. The sounds of the street seemed to change as they bounced off the building. Inside, a woman with a clipboard met them. "Amelia Foster, we've been expecting you. I'm Diane, Dr. Winters' assistant." "Dr. Winters is the scientist who organized this, right?" Jack asked. "Yes," Diane replied. "She'll explain everything after the audition. For now, please follow me." Amelia could feel the change as they walked through the halls. The floor beneath her cane went from marble to carpet. The air was different too, cooler and somehow thicker with history. "There are several candidates being evaluated today," Diane explained. "Some of our country's most talented musicians are helping with the assessments." They entered what Amelia could tell was a large room. She could hear whispers and the rustle of papers, suggesting many people were watching. "Please wait here," Diane said, showing them to seats. "Amelia will be called when it's her turn." As they waited, Amelia listened to the other auditions. One by one, talented musicians were called to perform. Some played their own compositions. Others were asked to replicate complex pieces. The judges seemed to be testing their abilities to recognize and reproduce musical patterns. Then a new judge arrived. Amelia could tell from the sudden change in the room. People sitting up straighter. Whispers of excitement. "That's Gregory Powell," someone nearby whispered. "The most famous pianist in the country. I didn't know he was involved in this." Gregory Powell was known worldwide for his brilliant playing and his difficult personality. He had won every major piano competition and performed with the best orchestras. He was also known for being harsh and demanding. "Next candidate," a voice called. "Amelia Foster." Uncle Jack squeezed her hand. "You'll be amazing," he whispered. Amelia stood, unfolded her white cane, and followed the sound of Diane's footsteps to the center of the room. She could feel many eyes watching her. "Miss Foster, please take a seat at the piano." A woman's voice said kindly. That must be Dr. Winters, Amelia thought. But before she could move toward the piano, another voice spoke, male, impatient, with a hint of a British accent despite being American. "Is this some kind of joke?" Gregory Powell asked, loudly. "We're looking for exceptional musicians, not a charity case." The room went deadly quiet. Amelia froze, her cane in hand. Dr. Winters spoke quickly. "Mr. Powell, I assure you Miss Foster has remarkable abilities." "She's blind," Powell interrupted. "How can she possibly help with pattern recognition if she can't even see the patterns?" Amelia felt her cheeks burning with shame and anger. She had faced doubt all her life, but never so publicly or cruelly. Uncle Jack stood up from his seat. "You don't know what you're talking about," he said angrily. "Just give her a chance to play." There was uncomfortable shifting in the room. No one had expected this confrontation. "Fine," Powell said coldly. "Let's not waste too much time. Missing Foster, please sit at the piano." A gentle hand touched Amelia's arm, Diane helping her to the piano bench. Amelia sat down, her fingers finding the keys to orient herself. The piano was a magnificent concert grand, much larger and finer than her old upright at home. "I will play a piece," Gregory Powell announced. "Something I am composing right now that has never been performed or recorded. If you can replicate it, I'll be impressed." He moved to a second piano on the stage. Without further introduction, his fingers began to dance across the keys. What came forth was beautiful but deliberately complex. Changing time signatures, unusual chord progressions, intricate patterns that seemed to have no logic at first hearing. Amelia listened intently, her head slightly tilted. She wasn't just hearing the notes. She was feeling how they connected, the mathematical relationships between them, the patterns hidden within patterns. When Powell finished, there was silence. Then he said smugly, "Now, Miss Foster, if you can play that back to me, I'll eat my own sheet music." Some nervous laughter rippled through the audience. Amelia took a deep breath. She placed her hands on the keys, finding her starting position. In her mind, she could see the music, not as notes on a page, but as flowing patterns of numbers and relationships. "Whenever you're ready," Dr. Winters said gently. Amelia began to play. Her fingers recreated every note, every nuance of Powell's improvisation perfectly. But then she did something more. She began to expand on the patterns he had created, revealing mathematical relationships in the music that even Powell hadn't consciously included. The room fell completely silent except for her playing. Even Powell said nothing, listening with growing astonishment as this blind girl not only replicated his composition, but improved upon it, showing him his own music in a way he had never understood it. When Amelia finished, the silence continued for several seconds. Then Dr. Winters gasped, "That's it. That's exactly what we're seeing in the signals." Dr. Elaine Winters rushed to the stage area, her eyes bright with excitement. She was a woman in her 50s with short gray hair and quick movements. In her hands she held a tablet computer. "This is remarkable," she said, looking from Amelia to the screen and back again. The patterns in your music match what we're seeing in the signals from space. The room burst into excited conversation. Gregory Powell stood frozen by his piano, his face pale with shock. I don't understand. Amelia said quietly, what signals? Dr. Winters took a deep breath and addressed everyone in the room. I think it's time we explain why we're really here. This isn't just a music audition. She nodded to an assistant who dimmed the lights. A large screen lowered from the ceiling, and a projector turned on. Images appeared, charts, graphs, and strange wave patterns. 3 months ago, NASA detected unusual signals coming from a planet 50 light-years away. These signals follow patterns that are too regular to be natural, but don't match any known form of communication. My team noticed they share characteristics with certain types of music, specifically music based on mathematical relationships. She pointed to the screen, where the wave patterns of Amelia's playing now appeared, next to the signals from space. What Miss Foster just did, the way she understood and expanded on Mr. Powell's composition, shows exactly the kind of pattern recognition we're looking for. She instinctively grasped mathematical relationships that even the composer wasn't fully aware of. Uncle Jack moved closer to Amelia. Are you saying these signals are from aliens? The room went quiet. We don't know for certain, Dr. Winters said carefully, but they are definitely not natural phenomena, and they are definitely coming from another planet. Gregory Powell finally found his voice. And you think this blind girl can help communicate with aliens? His tone was different now, less dismissive, more stunned. I believe someone with Miss Foster's unique abilities might help us understand the patterns in ways our computers can't, Dr. Winters replied. The human brain, especially one attuned to musical mathematics as hers clearly is, can recognize relationships that artificial intelligence misses. Amelia sat quietly at the piano, trying to absorb what she was hearing. All her life she had felt the mathematical patterns in music. It was how she made sense of the world she couldn't see. Could those same patterns really be the key to understanding messages from another world? May I hear the signals? She asked suddenly. Dr. Winters looked surprised but nodded to her assistant. Play the most recent sequence we received. A strange series of tones filled Carnegie Hall. To most people in the room it sounded random, perhaps with some repeating elements but nothing recognizable as music or language. But Amelia tilted her head, listening intently. Without saying anything, she turned back to the piano and began to play. She started with simple notes that matched the sequence they had just heard. Then slowly she began to add structure around them, creating a framework that made the seemingly random tones feel like part of a larger composition. Everyone in the room watched in amazement. On the screen, the computer analyzed what she was playing in real time, comparing it to the alien signals. There's an 87% correlation, Dr. Winters' assistant announced, her voice filled with awe. She's finding patterns our algorithms missed for months. When Amelia finished playing, the room was completely silent. Then Gregory Powell walked slowly to her piano. How did you do that? He asked, his arrogance gone. Amelia shrugged slightly. I don't see music the way you do. I feel it as mathematical relationships, like equations speaking to each other. Can you teach me to hear it that way? He asked. Before Amelia could answer, Dr. Winters interrupted. Miss Foster, would you be willing to work with our team? We have a facility at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California where we're studying these signals. Your insights could be invaluable. Uncle Jack stepped forward protectively. She's just 19. She's never been away from home except for this trip. I understand your concerns, Dr. Winters said. Family members are welcome to accompany participants in the project. We can arrange accommodations. This is a matter of potential national importance. Amelia reached out and found her uncle's hand. What do you think I should do? She asked him quietly. Jack squeezed her hand. This is your decision, Amelia. But I think this is an amazing opportunity. And if these really are signals from another world, well, how often does someone get to be part of something like that? Amelia nodded slowly, then turned in the direction of Dr. Winters' voice. I'd like to help if I can, but I need to talk to my parents first. Of course, Dr. Winters said warmly. We can arrange a secure call right away. And Mr. Powell, she added, turning to the pianist who was still standing nearby, we would value your expertise as well, if you're interested in joining the project. Gregory looked at Amelia with new respect. I wouldn't miss it, he said simply. Within hours, Amelia was speaking to her parents via video call with Uncle Jack beside her to help. Dr. Winters explained the project to Ben and Laura Foster, who listened with growing amazement. You're saying our daughter might help communicate with beings from another planet? Ben asked, his voice shaking slightly. That's exactly what I'm saying, Dr. Winters confirmed. Her ability to understand mathematical patterns in music is extraordinary. It might be exactly what we need to establish meaningful contact. Laura leaned closer to the camera. Amelia, honey, this sounds incredible, but also overwhelming. Are you sure about this? Amelia nodded. Mom, all my life I've felt different, like I was hearing things in music that no one else could hear. Now I know why. I need to do this. Her parents spoke privately for a few minutes, then returned to the call. We support you, Ben said firmly, but we want to be with you. We can't let our little girl go across the country alone. We've already arranged for you both to join her, Dr. Winters assured them. Government transport will bring you to California tomorrow. All expenses will be covered, of course. 2 days later, Amelia and her parents arrived at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. Uncle Jack had returned to his job in New York, promising to visit soon. They were given a comfortable apartment on the facility grounds and introduced to the team of scientists and specialists working on the project. Gregory Powell arrived the same day. When he saw Amelia in the main laboratory, he approached her. Awkwardly, Miss Foster, he said formally, I owe you an apology for my behavior at the audition. I was arrogant and wrong. Amelia smiled slightly. You can call me Amelia, and thank you for the apology. Perhaps, he said carefully, we could work together. I have technical knowledge of music theory that might complement your intuitive understanding. I'd like that, Amelia replied. The days at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory quickly turned into weeks. Amelia spent most of her time in a special room they had set up for her, filled with various musical instruments and advanced computer equipment. The walls were lined with sound-absorbing material to create the perfect acoustic environment. Each morning, Dr. Winters would bring the latest recordings of the alien signals. Amelia would listen carefully, then try to replicate and expand on the patterns using either the piano or a specially designed synthesizer that could create a wider range of sounds. Gregory Powell worked alongside her, offering insights from his years of classical training. Their relationship had changed completely. Where once he had dismissed her, now he watched her work with growing respect and even a touch of awe. It's like you're speaking their language already, he told her one afternoon after a particularly successful session. You hear things in these signals that the rest of us miss entirely. Amelia smiled. I wouldn't say I'm speaking their language yet. It's more like we're finding common ground. Music and math are universal. Maybe that's why they're using these patterns to reach out. Her parents had settled into their new temporary life in California. Ben volunteered to help around the facility doing maintenance work, while Laura assisted with administrative tasks. They were proud of their daughter, but still protective, making sure she didn't get overwhelmed by the long hours and pressure. One evening, as Amelia sat with her parents in their apartment, Laura noticed her daughter seemed troubled. What's wrong, honey? She asked, sitting beside Amelia on the couch. Amelia sighed. We're making progress understanding the patterns, but I feel like we're still missing something important. It's like they're asking a question, and we're just repeating it back to them. We need to give them an answer. What kind of answer? Ben asked, bringing cups of tea from the small kitchen. I don't know yet, Amelia admitted, but I think it needs to be something uniquely human, something that shows who we are. The next day, Amelia shared her thoughts with Dr. Winters and the team. I believe we need to compose something original to send back, she explained. Not just mimic their patterns, but create something that combines their mathematical structures with human emotion. Dr. Winters nodded thoughtfully. That makes sense. A real conversation isn't just repetition. It's an exchange of ideas. She turned to Gregory. What do you think, Mr. Powell? Gregory had been taking notes as Amelia spoke. I agree completely. We've been so focused on understanding their grammar that we haven't thought about what we actually want to say. The team decided to attempt creating an original composition to transmit to the distant planet. Amelia and Gregory would work together, with the scientists ensuring their creation could be properly transmitted across space. They worked intensely for days, building a piece of music that incorporated both the mathematical precision the aliens seemed to use and the emotional qualities that made human music unique. It needs to tell our story, Amelia said as they refined their composition. Who we are as humans. What makes us different from other species? Gregory agreed. Music has always been how humans express our deepest feelings. Joy, sorrow, hope, fear, all the things that make us who we are. As they worked, something unexpected began to happen. The alien transmissions started to change. The patterns became more complex, almost as if they were responding to the human team's efforts in real time, which should have been impossible given the vast distance between Earth and the source of the signals. This doesn't make sense, Dr. Winters said, studying the latest data. There's a 50 light-year delay. They can't be responding to our work already. Unless they're not actually 50 light-years away, suggested one of the younger scientists, a physicist named Alan Reed. Or they have technology that somehow overcomes the speed of light limitation. The team debated these possibilities, while Amelia and Gregory continued refining their composition. Whatever the explanation, it seemed clear that the aliens were reacting to their efforts. One night, after everyone else had gone home, Amelia stayed late in the music room. Gregory had left hours ago, but she felt close to a breakthrough and wanted to keep working. Her fingers moved over the synthesizer, trying different variations of a passage that had been giving her trouble. Suddenly, she felt something strange, almost like another presence in the room. The air seemed to vibrate with energy, making the small hairs on her arms stand up. "Hello?" she called out, thinking someone had entered quietly. "Is someone there?" There was no answer, but the feeling grew stronger. Acting on instinct, Amelia began to play the latest version of the composition she and Gregory had been working on. As her fingers moved across the keys, the strange energy in the room seemed to pulse in time with the music. Then something extraordinary happened. The synthesizer began to play notes she wasn't touching, harmonizing with her melody, adding new layers to the composition. It was as if an invisible musician had joined her. Amelia's heart raced, but she didn't stop playing. Instead, she followed, the lead of her unseen partner, letting the music evolve into something new and beautiful that neither human nor alien could have created alone. When the piece finally ended, the strange energy faded. Amelia sat in silence for a long moment, trying to process what had just happened. Then she reached for her phone and called Dr. Winters. "You need to come back to the lab," she said, her voice shaking with excitement. Something incredible just happened. Within an hour, the core team had reassembled in the music room. Amelia described her experience while the scientists checked the recording equipment that was always running in the room. "There it is," said Alan, pointing to the sound wave patterns on his screen. "Look at these added harmonics. They weren't coming from the synthesizer's programming. They're completely new." Dr. Winters looked at Amelia with wide eyes. "Do you realize what this means? They're not just sending signals, they found a way to directly interact with our instruments. This is actual, real-time contact." Gregory, who had rushed back to the facility after getting Amelia's message, stood looking at the recorded patterns in amazement. "It's beautiful," he said softly. "What they added? It's like nothing I've ever heard, but it works perfectly with what we created." Dr. Winters turned to address the whole team. "This changes everything. We need to prepare for the possibility of more direct interaction. And," she added, looking at Amelia, "we need to finish that composition as quickly as possible." I think we've found our answer. Amelia nodded, feeling both terrified and exhilarated. Somehow, beings from another world had reached across space to make music with her. It was the most amazing moment of her life, and she knew it was just the beginning. News of the breakthrough spread quickly through government channels. Within days, high-ranking officials from NASA, the Department of Defense, and even the White House were visiting the facility. Everyone wanted to witness the extraordinary communication that was developing between humans and the unknown beings from another world. Dr. Winters had to balance the growing political interest with the needs of her team. "We need to focus on the work," she reminded everyone during a tense meeting. "This isn't about fame or glory. It's about making contact." For Amelia, the pressure was intense. Suddenly, she was at the center of what might be the most important event in human history. But she found comfort in the music itself and in her growing friendship with Gregory Powell. "Don't let them rush you," Gregory told her as they worked on their composition. "Great music can't be forced, it has to develop naturally." Amelia nodded, grateful for his support. "I keep thinking about what we're trying to say to them. We're not just exchanging mathematical patterns. We're trying to introduce ourselves, the human race, to beings we know nothing about." After 3 weeks of intensive work, they completed their composition. It was unlike anything either of them had created before, a perfect blend of mathematical precision and emotional depth. They called it Symphony of First Contact. Meanwhile, Dr. Winters and her team developed a plan for a formal transmission event. They would send Amelia and Gregory's composition to the distant planet in a special broadcast, using the most powerful radio telescope array on Earth. The event would be shared with the world through a limited live broadcast. "Are you ready for this?" Laura asked her daughter the night before the big day. They were sitting in the small garden outside their apartment, enjoying the warm California evening. Amelia took a deep breath. "I think so. It's strange. A few months ago I was just a girl playing piano in our living room. Now I'm helping communicate with another civilization." Ben put his arm around her shoulders. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart. No matter what happens tomorrow, remember that." The day of the transmission dawned clear and bright. The Kennedy Space Center in Florida had been chosen as the location for the event, with a specially designed stage set up for Amelia and Gregory to perform their composition live as it was broadcast into space. Thousands of people gathered to witness the historic moment. With billions more watching on screens around the world, security was tight, with military personnel guarding every entrance. Scientists, diplomats, and world leaders filled the front rows. Backstage, Amelia sat quietly, trying to stay calm. She wore a simple blue dress that her mother had helped pick out. Gregory paced nearby in a black suit, more nervous than she had ever seen him. "What if they don't understand?" he worried aloud. "What if we've misinterpreted everything?" Amelia smiled. "They'll understand. Music speaks across all boundaries, even between different worlds." Dr. Winters appeared, clipboard in hand. "It's time," she said. "Are you both ready?" They nodded and she led them onto the stage. The audience fell silent as Amelia, Gregory, and Dr. Winters took their places. Dr. Winters stepped up to the microphone. "First, today marks a turning point in human history," she began. "For the first time, we will attempt deliberate, meaningful communication with intelligent beings from another world." She explained briefly how the project had developed, from the first detection of the signals to the breakthroughs made by Amelia and the team. Then she introduced Amelia and Gregory. "This composition will be transmitted to the source of the signals we've been receiving. It represents humanity's first formal message to another civilization." Amelia and Gregory took their places at 2 grand pianos that had been positioned in the center of the stage. Behind them, a large screen showed the live broadcast of stars and the distant planet from which the signals originated. A hushed silence fell over the crowd. Then, as if by some unspoken signal, Amelia and Gregory began to play. Their composition started softly, with simple patterns that echoed the alien signals they had first received. Gradually, it grew more complex, weaving in elements of human music from around the world, hints of classical symphonies, jazz improvisations, folk melodies, and ancient tribal rhythms. As they played, something remarkable happened. The screen, behind them, which had been showing the distant star system, began to display strange, colorful patterns that pulsed in time with the music. No one was controlling this display. It was coming from the receiving instruments themselves. The scientists monitoring the broadcast looked at each other in amazement. Something was happening. A response was coming back, faster than should have been possible. Amelia couldn't see the screen, but she could feel it. The same strange energy she had experienced in the lab was now filling the entire auditorium. Without planning it, she began to improvise, moving beyond the composition they had prepared. Gregory followed her lead, their music evolving into something new and unexpected. The audience watched in stunned silence as the patterns on the screen changed in response to every note. It was an actual dialogue happening through music, a conversation between humans and beings from another world. When they finally finished playing, there was a moment of absolute silence. Then the audience erupted in applause and cheers. Many people were openly weeping, overwhelmed by what they had witnessed. Dr. Winters rushed to the microphone, her face flushed with excitement. "We've done it," she announced. "We've established communication. The response patterns indicate understanding and a desire for continued contact." Backstage, after the performance, Amelia sat quietly with her parents, trying to process everything that had happened. Gregory joined them, still looking slightly dazed. "You were amazing," he told Amelia. "What you did out there, that wasn't just music. It was something more." Amelia smiled. "We did it together," she said, "and with them, whoever they are." In the days that followed, the world changed. News of the successful contact dominated every headline and conversation. Amelia became known globally as the girl who played for the stars, though she tried to downplay her role, insisting that it had been a team effort. Regular communication sessions were established, with Amelia and Gregory continuing to develop musical conversations with the alien beings. Scientists worked tirelessly to understand more about who these creatures were and how they had developed their mathematical musical language. One evening, as Amelia sat alone in the garden of the facility, Gregory found her. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, sitting beside her. "About how strange life is," she replied. "All my life, being blind felt like a limitation. People thought I was missing out on so much of the world. But if I could see, I might never have developed the ability to hear music the way I do. And then I wouldn't be here, helping to build a bridge between worlds." Gregory was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You've taught me so much, Amelia. Not just about music, but about seeing beyond the surface of things. I spent years focused on technical perfection, but you showed me what music really is, a universal language that can speak across any distance." Amelia smiled and turned her face up to the stars she couldn't see, but somehow felt more connected to than anyone else on Earth. "I wonder what they look like," she said softly. "The beings we're talking to." Gregory chuckled. "Maybe they're wondering the same about us." "Maybe," Amelia agreed. "But in the end, does it really matter? We found a way to speak to each other. Across the stars, that's what counts. And somewhere, 50 light years away, or perhaps much closer than anyone suspected, other beings were listening to human music and finding a connection that transcended all differences." The first chapter, in a new story for both civilizations, had begun,